This video is about a divine appointment that I had on an Uber ride. So, interestingly enough, I was doing a little bit of a devotional time, a little praise and worship in between rides. Then I got a ping to go get this guy at the gas station. So then when I picked him up, he jumped in the car. He had a real cool demeanor, cool vibe. So we just started talking. We struck up a conversation, started talking about music. I asked him what type of music he liked, and then he said, "Well, actually, I like old school gospel, like soulful gospel music, the kind that Kanye West samples." And he said, "I like the vibe that I get from that type of music." I was like, "Cool." So that easily segued into a conversation, and I started, quickly kind of going into spirituality and stuff like that, but it flowed real smoothly. It wasn't something I forced the conversation. Um, and so I just started sharing with him why I was a believer and some supernatural that, it was because of supernatural experiences and stuff like that. And he actually wanted to hear about that. He was curious about it. And so then I shared with him the supernatural experience that I had, like the vision, kind of out of body experience, where I believe that I actually went to heaven or a heavenly realm. Um, and it was just flowing. When you're having an unusual conversation, but it's just flowing. You're not forcing. It's just going, and the person is open. They're receptive. He was very curious. He was very open, and what I had to say. And then I told him about after I had that heavenly type of vision experience or whatever, that when I woke up, although that experience was very intense and I was kind of scared, like a holy fear, that when I woke up, I was filled with with the Holy Spirit's presence and peace and love, and the best, warmest feeling, the best feeling I ever had in my life when I woke up from that experience, and that it changed me. Well, interestingly enough, after I shared that, and even a little bit before I shared that experience with him, I started kept feeling like the Holy Spirit, and I was talking about the Holy Spirit, and like that's how I know that Jesus is the way. And so then after I shared that vision experience, then I kept feeling waves of the Holy Spirit, and it wasn't quite as intense as it was, back then. And that, but in the car, I just kept feeling the Holy Spirit's presence, and just this love, this deep love, and this real, just beautiful feeling of the presence of the Holy Spirit. And I even mentioned it to him, and I think that he was feeling the Lord's presence too. Um, And I was like, "Bro, something's going on with you." And he's like, "Well, I used to be really close to God, and I was raised in the church and everything. And I used to really be close to God, and I've strayed away." And I was like, "Yeah, I hear you, man, but I know God still loves you. And there's something about you, because I keep feeling this presence." And then as I was talking to him, I was like, "Well, I don't know what's going on, but I just kept feeling blessed of the Holy Spirit's presence, and this strong love." And I feel like it was directed towards this guy. And then I told him, "I know what it is, man." I said, "You know, God wants a deep connection and a relationship with us, and I feel like He misses you. The Holy Spirit misses you, man, and that's why I'm feeling His presence." And so then I dropped him off, and he was just kind of like, like, that's cool and everything, but I've just, I've strayed away from God. And I was just not trying to push it on him, but I was like, I knew it was. And I basically told him, like, God is pursuing you, and he's coming after you, and he wants to have that same relationship with you again. And I'm like, that's why we met, and that was the message I was supposed to give him. So he was cool about it, but even though he didn't um, completely respond to it, it was still cool, because I know that I told him what I was supposed to tell him, and I know that God spoke to him through that conversation. So I'm gonna definitely keep praying for him. But that was a pretty amazing experience, and I hadn't felt the Holy Spirit's presence to that extent for a long time. So that was pretty incredible and pretty amazing. So anyway, I gotta explain to this for people who haven't felt the Holy Spirit's presence before or don't know what I'm talking about. It's not an emotional feeling, like a feeling, like an emotion. It's the literal feeling of a presence. Sometimes, like how people, but it's a beautiful presence. It's like similar to the feeling of being in love, but that feeling of being in love or this deep, nurturing, loving feeling is actually around you and in you. And, it's a spiritual presence. And it's the only way I know how to explain it. But it's like how you feel air, cool or warm, or you feel the air. It's that type of, it has its own tangible presence. It's not just an emotional feeling inside of you. Um, so, anyway, I just want to share that with y'all. Have any of y'all had a divine appointment? And if you haven't, I encourage y'all to start asking for divine appointments and see what happens. All right, y'all be blessed. Y'all be encouraged.